Hey, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Extra Feature Interviews. I have a fabulous guest who brought us a full-length film. I'm probably going to screw it up, but I am going to try. Nem, how do I say this? I always screw it up.
Namaka.
Namaka. I know they say it 100 times during the film, but of course, I'm not going to remember that right now. Frank Merle is here. Welcome to the show, writer-director of this lovely film.
Thank you.
So, I got a question for you. Where did this idea come from? Did it come from a book? Did it come from Family Holiday? It really felt it came from somewhere to me.
It did. It was a vacation that I took to Hawaii with my family, and while
I
I was
thought
there,
so.
I was researching Hawaiian mythology. So anywhere I travel, I'm always curious about local culture, customs, and history. And so I was at a few museums, and as I was researching Hawaiian mythology, I saw a lot of familiar stories that sort of reminded me of other mythologies. I had written another screenplay that was about a Greek goddess, and that movie never came to fruition. It was a script that I had in a drawer, and as I started researching some of these characters in Hawaii, I thought, oh, this could give that screenplay new life. And so I did sort of a down to the studs rewrite, and set it in a tropical location because I figure, that's the location is such a big element to the movie.
Do you find as a screenwriter nothing is ever dead? You just put it in a drawer and you'll pick it up later. I mean, not saying 6 months. I'm saying it could be 5 years. Something that you're.
Yes.
Wait, I wrote about that. Let me go get that. And just something works at that point.
I don't know who said this, but I've heard this quote a lot that art is never finished; it's only abandoned.
I heard that too, so I
Yeah,
agree.
so I think that's true of screenplays, but really, I mean, screenplay once it's gotten the green light, it's not finished, right? Because when you're on set, actors are going to have thoughts, and you'll do some rewrites right there on the spot, and then the screenplay gets written again in the edit.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so it's never done.
So how do you feel about that? I mean, you're a screenwriter, you're a writer, director. This is your baby. You take it the
Yeah.
whole way. You got the football from the beginning to the end. Well, if an actor asks you a question with a line or even a paragraph or a scene, do you totally know what you want? So, no, I need this to get to X, or you're like, nope, let's try it your way. How do you approach
It's
that?
that is a great question, and it really is both. It really is it's directing is a balancing act between being very confident in what you want, the story you want to tell,
Hmm.
and having the wisdom to collaborate because the co-artists who you're making it with, not just the actors, the camera department, the props department,
Yeah.
everyone, that if you have the wisdom to be open to ideas and understanding how someone else's idea may work towards the story you're trying to tell, or good reasons why it wouldn't, so let's try another way. That to me, that is the sweet spot of filmmaking is really having that confidence in the story you want to tell to such an extent that you can be collaborative with everyone you're working with.
So, how do you feel that as a writer? I mean, do you have actors in mind ahead of time? Some do, some don't.
Yeah,
Or do every film you approach, do you do it differently?
a funny thing with this movie, I definitely didn't have actors in mind, but I had a for one character in particular, Guy Torino, I had a type in mind, and I did not have Jamie Kennedy, the actor, in mind when I was writing it, but I had his character from Scream in mind as the Randy, the horror expert. If that character had lived another 30 years and had moved to Hawaii and become a podcaster, that was the voice that I wanted. So when I was writing that character, and how I got Jamie in the movie is that when I reached out to him, I said I wrote this character as if this was Randy. He faked his death, moved to Hawaii, and changed his name, and he just loved that idea.
So he was on board, no problem. Like
Yeah,
the
I mean,
issue.
yeah, I mean, he read the script, he liked it. It was a timing thing when I reached out to him. He had just returned from Hawaii, so he
Oh,
so he he sort of had that. it's you know Hawaii is a very magical place. It's hard to be in a bad mood when you're there, and so he was just coming back to his real life after doing a gig in Hawaii and read the script and thought, oh, this would be really fun.
You do say the film is filmed in LA and Hawaii. I
Yes,
think I pretty much know the Hawaii scenes. I mean,
yes,
it's not the ones where they're leaving at the beginning of the film.
right.
Now, my question is that the only LA part? Is when they're leaving at the beginning of the film?
Actually, we tricked some of it. Some of the Tiki Bar is in Burbank.
Really?
Yeah, and some of the jungle stuff, actually, believe it or not, some of the jungle stuff we found at the LA County Arboretum.
Well, I got to give you credit because I would know that, but
Thank
I
you.
thought all
And
that was Hawaii.
and really, I mean, this was a low budget film, and travel was a consideration, and it is hard to film. It's expensive to film in Hawaii.
So I want to discuss. I love your choice for main actor, your
Mhm.
main lead. He looks like the part. Like he
Jason.
totally works for this scene. Now, did you have problems finding him, or did you know him, or how did he come on board?
So we did open auditions for those two roles for Alex and Namaka. I just wanted to have open auditions and see as many people as I could. So we had Jamie Kennedy attached first, and that helped to get a higher caliber of other talent to come out for the audition, actually, because I was able to put his name in the casting notice, right? So Jamie was the first cast, and then we did, casting for a tropical thriller, and the two characters, we described the two characters. Namaka has to be a goddess, but then the leading man is just really, I didn't quite have a type in mind. I just wanted to see what all my options were, who was out there. And so we got, oh gosh, I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000. Yeah, oh no,
Wow.
well over a
Whew.
thousand.
Well, you're in LA. That makes sense.
Yes, yes. We got over 1,000 submissions for that role for Alex for the lead. And based on that, I went through. I didn't like watch everybody's reel, but based on just looks alone, right? I kind of had an idea what I wanted the character to look like. I invited maybe 100 to do a self tape, and so then they didn't have access to the whole script. They only knew a couple scenes, and they did a self tape. And based on that, I brought in maybe 20 for a callback, for an in-person callback. And because I very much wanted to do a chemistry read with Namaka, I wanted Alex and Namaka to have really good chemistry together. So same thing with that character for Namaka. I didn't get I got a few hundred actually submissions, but also yeah, I brought in 20. I think I had 20. I did one full day of callbacks with 20 Alexes and 20 Namakas, and I mixed and matched them and picked my favorite two.
Now, did all the Namakas have a certain look? Like I would think so, and all
Yeah, I mean
the other
that's what
guys
I
should
mean.
have a certain
So
look.
when you do, yeah, in general with an audition with a casting notice, some roles it doesn't really matter. It can be open to any, in general, some physical appearance is typical for a casting notice, and for this it was Hawaiian goddess, right? So that was so I wouldn't say they all had a similar look, but they all had some sort of Hawaiian goddess presence about them, let's say.
Now, is Namaka Hawaiian? And I know what she is in the film, but it's a
Uh,
real
the
your act.
actress,
Yes.
I never asked.
Oh, okay. So she has to look to me. I would argue, yeah, okay, I'll give it to you. Some point, maybe she was. I would say, yeah, looks good to me.
I know I've heard stories from. I know she's a big fan of Hawaii. I don't know if she's from there originally. I think she's from Seattle, but
Nope.
in terms of ethnicity, I went with the best actress for the role.
Well, it's just great to hear. So you start off your film with an opening drone shot of a beach.
Yes,
Now, is that a Hawaiian beach or an LA beach, and what beach is it?
that is Hawaii. That is Hawaii. Yes.
So did you do that when you were on vacation, or did you do that for the film?
that was B-roll. Yeah, no, that was I wanted to use that shot in the film. So, but yeah, that was just B-roll.
Okay, now your hula dancers, you having some
Yep.
lovely hula dancers. Did you hire them or did you find them or how does that
Well,
work?
that one shot, that one shot of the three gals, that is what do you call that? That's stock footage. So
Oh, is it
yeah,
really?
that's stock footage. So that was, the idea was I wanted this opening shot. In fact, in an earlier cut of the movie, that would be the first shot of the film. I tried it one time with starting with them, and then it would the camera would pull out, and we would see it's actually Alex watching them. And the idea for that shot is that well, I had to do a lot of things very quickly. I'm establishing the characters, their relationships. I wanted to get them to Hawaii as quickly as I could while also establishing the rules of the hat cam, right? So
I
he's
love the
wearing,
hat cam. The hat
yeah,
cam is
yeah. So
great.
and that was an idea to add some, point of view shots. And I always sort of had this idea. I liked the idea of the movie being a little bit of a hybrid with a found footage movie, right? So, and it would make it feel more realistic. So I wanted to establish those rules that if he's wearing the hat, he can see the footage on his phone. Right. And so I kind of came up with this cool shot that would start on the hula dancers and pull out, and it's actually him watching the hula dancers. We wouldn't quite know what we're looking at first, and then we would cut to the reverse shot, and then we would understand he's watching it on his computer. And the idea was, I think about this when I think a lot of people can relate to this. Maybe before going on vacation, you do some research, you watch
Yep.
some you watch some YouTube videos from people who have done the same trip. So that was sort of my idea, is that Alex is immersing himself in this, in what am I going to expect when I'm there in Hawaii? And I wanted to show something that's very traditional and also typical, like, and has a little bit of sensuality to it, so that we would get Alex in the right state of mind for how romanticized this vacation is going to be.
Okay, let's go into that. I
Yes,
would not say there's a lot of romance for Alex and his family.
correct.
He tries to avoid them. I was really convinced at all costs he does not want to be there.
Yeah, yes, I read a review of this film that talked about this strained marriage he has, and it wasn't necessarily my intent. My intent is that he's not a happy person, right?
I
And that
get that.
yeah, the main thing that's going on in this character's life is that his band broke up, right? And
Yes,
so
he
he's
says
a
that.
so if that was if art is a big part of his identity, right? His music is a big part of his identity. When that band breaks up, he's going to feel very unmoored, right?
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
and so I think there's something very truthful that when when people are, I don't know if it would be fair. Maybe he has some sort of depression, right? And he's looking for a new sound. He says, "I need a new sound," right? And he may be masking that depression because he comes off like a very happy-go-lucky guy, right? But when we peel the layers back and we find out a little bit, he tells that story. First, he tells it to James, guy Trevino in the bar. He talks about the band that broke up, and then he tells the same story to Namaka later. So this is on his mind a lot. He's desperate to find purpose again, and so that is causing him. There's nothing. His What I'm trying to say is his wife doesn't do anything wrong. I wasn't trying to show this as a icy marriage that he's trying to get out of. That it was more about how an artistic soul can become unmoored and make some poor decisions, perhaps, and not turn to family to lean on, because maybe that would be the right decision. Obviously, would be to spend that time with his family, which his wife tries to say to him, right? And later in the movie, she's like, "Come back to us, spend time with us," and but by that point in the story, it's too little, too late.
But I would argue gave him a great crutch. He gave him his sister-in-law goes, and the husband goes. They have a new baby,
Yep.
and it's not his family; it's his
It,
wife's family they're with. So I would totally get it too. I
yeah.
would probably be doing my own thing too, and I think you
Yes.
set it up nicely for that with the music to give him a crutch to do something. He
Yes.
wants time for himself. He wants to learn. He repeats that numerous times. And he even
Yes.
tells Guy at the bar, like, hey, I got to do something.
Yep. And I think
So,
that's an element that reminds me of me. I'm an only child, and so I'm somebody who values my alone time. That's when I can sort of like hone in and be creative. And that's something. So that was an element that sort of resonated with me.
okay, I want to go through over a few locations.
Uh-huh.
The house location.
Uh-huh.
Is it two houses or one house?
So that they live in the
There's the
interior,
first house we see in LA, and then we see another house later
different
in
houses.
Hawaii, a different
Yes.
house. As I thought there were two different houses, but you
Yes.
could just be showing me two angles of the same house, and I just didn't see
So
that room.
that is one of those low budget tricks, but in this case, no, we did have two houses. Those
Yeah,
were separate.
whose houses were they then?
So the opening scene, that house is owned by one of the executive producers of the film. Good friends
And
of ours, good friends of mine, who let me shoot for a day there at their
and the
place.
second one?
That one, so Guy, you're talking about Guy Trevino's house.
Correct.
Um, I found that on Gigster. I found that
Oh,
location on Gigster. Yeah. So do you know familiar with Gigster? It's like
I've
it's
heard of it. It's not really
yeah,
my thing.
it's like Airbnb for locations. So, if you have a house or a place of business that you think you'd like to have in movies, you put a price on it, and say this is how much I want for you guys to come in. And then they post pics. So on Gigster, you'll see pictures of and I was looking for a house that would have that tropical feel to it. But also, I have this backstory for Guy Trevino where this never comes up in the movie. This was just for me and a little background storytelling, and for a story I can share on a
I'm
extra features podcast.
I
But
love it.
I imagine that he inherited that from his mom. So I
Oh,
wanted the
100%.
I wanted the house to feel like it's an old lady's house.
It does though. It does. There's no way Guy bought this house. I 100% agree with you.
Good. I'm glad you picked up on that.
The airport location, is that a
Yes.
set?
I want to say. I mean, I want. We may have done guerrilla style with
Okay,
that.
I was
Yeah.
wondering.
I mean,
I'm like,
because
this looks really good.
and that's the thing when you're shooting with a GoPro, you
I'm
can get
finding.
away with a lot. And as long as I didn't have anybody, I'm not pretty sure. I'm quite certain nobody's faces in the movie that we didn't have permission for, right?
No,
But
I don't think you do either. So
no, no.
I just want. I'm like, this airport looks amazing.
I heard Sean Baker talk about Honora, about some of the shots they were doing in that movie, and that's a $5 million budget movie that won several Oscars, and he did some guerrilla style shots. So when I heard him talk about, you know, that yeah, we stole that shot, I'm like, okay, so it's a legitimate thing
Well,
to
I think you see that in the Florida project in the last shot of the
yeah,
film. It's definitely
yeah,
guerrilla shooting.
yeah. They did
Um,
not get permission from Disney for that shot.
no, they didn't. The Tiki Bar. I have to stay a little bit more longer. The Tiki Bar. How did you find this place?
So that was one of our secrets is that we're not in Hawaii. That is in Burbank,
That's
California.
fine. I
I'll
want to
do
go
it. I'll
here.
do a shout out to the place. It's called Broken Compass, and it's a gorgeous tiki bar. I had a birthday party there a couple of years ago, and like I'm a tiki. I like tiki. I like tiki drinks. I like tiki music, right? And so I got to know the owners there a little bit, and so that was through friends of friends that I was able to score that location. Funny thing though is when we were shooting at it was about a year ago, I guess. We were shooting in December, and they had a lot of Christmas decorations up. And so that was the one thing is that we shot there for a few nights we did overnight. So we had to take down all the Christmas decorations when they closed, put them back up, and then take them down again.
Did you pick that side of the bar? Because you're pretty much shooting on the same side. both
Where
times.
should there's three different scenes in that same bar, right?
Right.
So there's three different scenes. That's you end up seeing most of the place.
Okay.
I tried to use as much of the place as I could because but also there are certain angles like any location. You walk into a location, you sort of know which angles you want to favor.
Yes.
So Broken Compass has this very interesting shaped bar.
Yes.
It's sort of it's actually if you can see it when you first walk in, it's shaped to sort of look like the hull of a ship.
Yes.
And so yeah, so we shot. I'm trying to think. So yeah, we're on one side of the bar for that whole opening scene when the two guys meet. The next time we come back to the bar, there's a little lounge area, all right, that's off to the
Yes.
back.
To the right. Yes.
Yes, so we used that section. And then the last scene, the last Guy Trevino scene is there's another section that has some booths, right? So they're sitting in a booth. The scene where he's brought all the books with him. So, but you're pretty much seeing the whole place. It's not that big
Um,
of a bar.
that zombie glass, that was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, did you know you were going to shoot there and use that glass?
So I had a few different tiki mugs to choose from, and I remember when Jamie first came to set, I showed him this like the a couple different goofy looking mugs, and he goes, "Oh, I'm not a prop actor. I don't want to use a too silly of a mug." And I had to assure him this is very much tiki culture, right?
Oh
Like this is
no, no, no! That mug is
it,
gold.
if you're in a tiki bar, you're going to be drinking out of a parrot or something like that.
Because he comes up and goes, "I want one of those." I'm like, "I
Yeah.
want a zombie and signs an autograph." I'm like, "Okay," but
Yep.
that mug, I was just staring at the mug the whole time on the
Good.
bar. I'm like, "That's cool."
I had a lot of fun with that, and then that scene later when they're drinking out of the giant clam, right? Like
Yes.
we had a lot of fun with that one too.
Okay. The Night Marchers podcast.
Yes.
I did do a Google search for it.
Okay.
There isn't such a podcast,
Well, there probably will be now.
but there
But
was
no,
a ton of
I
stuff
did. I made
on
that up
Night
for you.
Marchers.
Yes.
Like a ton. So explain to me a little bit more why the Night Marchers. Because I mean, there is stuff on the internet with its name, but there
Yes.
isn't a pod. I did look it up. I thought maybe you did have a podcast I didn't know about.
It in doing my research about any sort of whenever I if you do Google any sort of Hawaiian dark history or Hawaiian
Yes,
mysticism, Night Marchers comes up. It's a very common ghost story in Hawaii, and it's very much tied to the tragedy that happened when the Hawaiian people were sort of taken over, colonized. The Dole Corporation came in. Bad things happen in the history of the Hawaiian Islands,
they did.
and so the Night Marchers myth has endured because it is the ghosts of the native Hawaiians who fought to keep Hawaii free, right? And so I think that's the reason it's such a popular myth. And so I used it in my story as sort of a red herring, right? So in the actual myth of the Night Marchers is that you hear this drumming, and if you hear the drumming, you're on the path that the Night Marchers used to march when they were in life, and really you need to sort of stop and pay honor to them, give some thought to their sacrifice. And if you don't do that, then bad things will happen to you. That's sort of the essence of the myth. And so I just liked the idea of Alex being told this myth, right? So there's that scene where the guy explains why he named his podcast after the Night Marchers, and and I just wanted that in Alex's head. So he is when he starts his trip, he's got these Hawaiian beautiful hula girls in his head. Then he goes to the tiki bar and he learns about this dark magic, right? This dark history. Because as I was writing the screenplay, I was sort of playing with the idea of, is Namaka even real? Right? Like
Good.
there's
That
an
comes
interpretation.
across.
I purposely shot all of her scenes sort of a little bit with a dreamlike reality, right? Like it doesn't quite feel like she always appears right out of nowhere and she disappears, and so and Alex is the only one who sees her, right? And so I wanted to set it up where it could be interpreted that maybe, maybe the cops were right and he was out there doing drugs in the woods and he thought he saw all this stuff.
Okay. You want to discuss music? There's lots of music in here. We can go over that for a few seconds.
Yes, please. So yeah, they had two different. So I really, as I was writing this, also I thought of it as a musical a little bit, right? So
Oh, okay.
so the I very intentionally put these three ukulele songs in at key moments in the story, first act, second act, third act, and that each of the acts of the movie would sort of be punctuated by this minute and a half of just purely enjoying an original ukulele song, right? And so I didn't have the songs in mind at all. I just wrote it where I was like, okay, I have this musician, and I'm establishing that he's really good at what he does, and so he's going to sit there and he's going to write original ukulele music, right? And so the three songs each has a different uh, function in the story, right? So the first one is the happy pop song that he's writing to hopefully win back his fan base, and he gets his new first fan, right, when he meets her. And the second one is a seduction song, right? And the third one is very mournful, very, and he's attempting to pray, and so there should be a spiritual element to the third one. And so one of the first things one of the other than Jamie Kennedy, the other first person brought on board was a ukulele composer, Chrissy Hogarth, who goes by the handle Chrissy Ukulele on Instagram, and I found her. She was a friend of a friend. It was funny. I was like having drinks with a friend of mine early in the development of this movie, and I said, "Yeah, I think I'm going to need to find somebody who can write ukulele music." And my friend said, "Oh, I happen to know like the world's most premier, like
That's awesome.
one of the best composers for original ukulele music." And so I reached out to her. She read the script, and I said, I need three original songs that is just ukulele, no vocals, no drum, no other instruments, and that's a tough challenge. And I said, I want one happy song, one sexy song, one sad song. And so so she composed those songs for us very early on, and so we were able to record those ahead of time, and we had playback on set.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that was very helpful because for all three of those numbers, everybody was able to actually listen to it while we were filming, so to really feel those songs. And Alex, the actor Jason does play a little bit of ukulele, but the musicality of what Chrissy did was like very much for an expert, right? And so he kind of had to fake it a little bit.
Okay.
We when we were in rehearsal, he had her record herself playing so he could sort of understand, the finger movements and do the best that he could. But it is a little bit of movie magic.
Okay. I have a weird question. There's a
Yeah,
guy wearing a mask in
yeah,
the film.
yeah,
Okay. But you can see him putting it on in the
yes.
background. If you
Uh,
look closely, it is there. Now, my question is,
yep.
why did you not want to just to surprise me? But if you're not paying attention, it is a surprise. But I had to rewind the scene to watch it to make sure I did see what I thought I saw. Was I missing something, or is it supposed to be a surprise? Or
That the idea is the guy in the mask is the bartender when he pulls it off. It's the guy who
yes,
gave the drinks, right? So the idea with that is that Guy Torino, he's a barfly. He's in this bar all the time, and he's pulling this. It's a prank that the two of them work together.
oh, okay. So there's more to it than I saw.
That's the idea is when he starts launching into his Night Marchers monologue, that's his cue for the bartender to go and grab his rubber mask, right? And so Guy starts saying, oh, let me tell you about the night marchers, and he gets very serious. And then when we cut to Alex, it's perfect. I'm having fun with the audience, right? Because you're right. I knew you might have to watch it twice to get it, because that's the bartender putting it on the mask in the background. I wasn't trying to scare the audience. That's the thing too. This isn't really a horror film, right? It has some thriller elements, it has some suspense elements, it has some comedy elements, but really
No,
um, it's a tropical adventure fantasy. It's a mix of a lot of different genres. So I didn't really see that as a scare moment for the audience so much as a scare moment for Alex, the character. And that for me, that was the difference. So that's why I let the audience in on seeing the rubber mask being put on in the background, so that we get this sense this is the fun that Guy and the bartender have together.